Introduction. Management versus strategy hierarchies. In business management, two important hierarchies are often confused: the management hierarchy and the strategy hierarchy. The management hierarchy consists of three levels: strategic, tactical, operational. The strategy hierarchy also consists of three levels: corporate strategy, business strategy, functional strategy. Understanding the difference between these frameworks helps clarify four things: how decisions are made, who carries them out, where strategy is formulated, and how strategy is implemented across the organization. At a simple level, the management hierarchy explains who executes decisions and how they are implemented. The strategy hierarchy explains where strategic direction is formulated within the organization. Two hierarchies explained. The two frameworks can now be seen side by side. On the left is the management hierarchy. This idea originates in classical management theory, associated with thinkers such as Henri Fayol, known for his principles of management, and Max Weber, whose work on bureaucracy explained hierarchical authority structures in organizations. The management hierarchy consists of three levels: strategic, tactical, operational. These levels describe how decisions are implemented within the organization. At the strategic level, top executives determine the organization's long-term direction. At the tactical level, middle managers translate that direction into coordinated plans and allocate resources. At the operational level, frontline managers and employees carry out the daily activities required to execute those plans. On the right is the strategy hierarchy. This framework developed later through the evolution of strategic management, particularly through the work of Alfred Chandler, Igor Ansoff, and Michael Porter. Chandler examined the relationship between strategy and organizational structure. Ansoff developed frameworks for corporate growth strategies, and Porter explained how firms achieve competitive advantage through competitive strategy. The strategy hierarchy also consists of three levels: corporate strategy, business strategy, functional strategy. These levels explain where strategy is formulated within the organization. Put simply, the management hierarchy explains how strategy is implemented. The strategy hierarchy explains where strategic direction is formulated. Strategic scope at each level. The strategy hierarchy contains three levels: corporate strategy, business strategy, and functional strategy. Although all three belong to the strategy hierarchy, their scope of influence differs. Corporate strategy at the top is corporate strategy. Corporate strategy is strategic for the entire organization. It determines the organization's overall direction, its portfolio of businesses, and the industries or markets in which it chooses to operate. For example, Amazon's corporate strategy expanded the company beyond online retail into cloud computing, digital media, artificial intelligence, and global logistics infrastructure. Similarly, Toyota's corporate strategy has expanded its global presence across multiple vehicle segments and technologies, including hybrid and electric mobility. Likewise, Apple's corporate strategy focuses on building an integrated ecosystem of hardware, software, and digital services. These decisions shape the overall direction of the organization. Business strategy. The next level is business strategy. Business strategy is strategic for a specific business unit or competitive market. It defines how a company competes within its industry. For example, Amazon Web Services competes through scalability, reliability, and technological leadership in cloud infrastructure. Toyota competes in the automotive market through quality, reliability, and cost efficiency, supported by the Toyota Production System. Apple competes in the smartphone and personal technology markets through product differentiation, design excellence, and strong brand positioning. Here, strategy focuses on how a particular business competes within its market. Functional strategy. At the third level is functional strategy. Functional strategy is strategic for a particular organizational function. Examples include procurement strategy, marketing strategy, finance strategy, human resource strategy, and supply chain strategy. These strategies define how organizational functions support the competitive strategy of the business. For example, Amazon's logistics and fulfillment strategy uses warehouse automation, data analytics, and last-mile delivery optimization to support fast delivery. Toyota's manufacturing and supply chain strategy emphasizes lean production and continuous improvement through the Toyota Production System. Apple's supply chain strategy relies on deep supplier partnerships, advanced manufacturing coordination, and highly efficient global logistics networks. In other words, each level is strategic within its own scope. Corporate strategy shapes the direction of the organization. Business strategy shapes competitive positioning within markets, and functional strategy shapes how organizational capabilities support that competition. As we move from corporate to business to functional levels, the scope becomes narrower, but the strategic importance within that scope remains high. Functional strategy implementation. In the previous slide, we saw that strategy exists at three levels: corporate strategy, business strategy, and functional strategy. But defining a strategy is only the beginning. The real challenge is turning that strategy into action. This slide shows how a functional strategy is translated into execution through the management hierarchy. Functional strategy defines the long-term direction of a specific organizational function. For example, a company may decide to adopt a global sourcing model, building long-term partnerships with suppliers across different regions of the world. However, once a functional strategy is defined, it must be implemented through the management hierarchy. This implementation unfolds across three management levels. Strategic management activity. At the strategic management level, leaders design the overall sourcing architecture. They determine how the supply network should be structured, which supplier markets should be targeted, and how long-term supplier partnerships will be developed. For example, Amazon designs global sourcing and logistics networks to support its rapid fulfillment model. Similarly, Toyota structures its supplier relationships around long-term collaboration and continuous improvement within the Toyota production system. And Apple carefully designs its supplier ecosystem to ensure precision manufacturing and high product quality. These decisions shape the strategic architecture of the function. Tactical management activity. At the tactical management level, managers translate the strategy into structured programs and systems. This includes activities such as supplier evaluation frameworks, supplier development programs, and contract management systems. For example, Amazon develops supplier performance systems and logistics coordination programs to maintain speed and reliability. Toyota develops supplier capability programs that support lean production and continuous improvement. Apple builds supplier development and quality management systems to support its premium product strategy. Here, strategy is converted into organized managerial programs. Operational activity. At the operational level, teams execute the day-to-day activities that keep the system functioning. This includes placing orders, coordinating deliveries, managing inventory levels, and ensuring logistics execution. For example, Amazon coordinates millions of orders and deliveries through its global fulfillment centers and logistics network. Toyota manages daily production flows and just-in-time supplier deliveries within its manufacturing system. Apple coordinates high-precision component deliveries across its global manufacturing partners. These operational activities ensure that strategic intent is translated into practical execution. Closing insight. This illustrates an important principle. A functional strategy is strategic in nature because it defines the long-term direction of the function, but its implementation occurs through strategic, tactical, and operational management activities. In this way, functional strategy becomes the bridge between strategic planning and everyday organizational execution. From strategy to execution. We can now bring the two frameworks together. On the left is the strategy hierarchy: corporate strategy, business strategy, and functional strategy. These levels define where strategy exists within the organization. Corporate strategy determines the overall direction of the organization. Business strategy determines how individual businesses compete within their markets. And functional strategy determines how organizational functions support that competitive strategy. On the right is the management hierarchy: strategic, tactical, and operational. These levels explain how strategy is implemented across the organization. At the strategic level, leaders design long-term direction and organizational capabilities. At the tactical level, managers translate strategy into structured programs, plans, and systems. At the operational level, teams execute the daily activities that deliver products, services, and value to customers. When these two hierarchies work together, strategy moves from concept to execution. The strategy hierarchy defines the direction. The management hierarchy delivers the implementation. Together, they connect strategic thinking with organizational action. And ultimately, this alignment leads to organizational performance. In simple terms, strategy defines what the organization aims to achieve. Management ensures that those strategic intentions are translated into real results. Final concept lock. Remember this simple rule. Corporate, business, and functional levels explain where strategy exists. Strategic, tactical, and operational levels explain how strategy is implemented. When these two hierarchies align, organizations successfully turn strategy into performance. Subscribe for more strategy insights from Infinite Business Dynamics.